Welcome to Truth Discovery. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In the shifting landscape of global power, a new force has emerged, an iron artery stretching over 10,000 kilometers from China to Iran. This is not just a feat of engineering but a bold reimagining of how nations connect, trade and project influence across continents. The world is witnessing the birth of a new route that promises to reshape the balance of power in Eurasia. This is more than a railway. It's a strategic statement, bypassing the world's most vulnerable maritime chokepoints and challenging US dominance. By carving a direct path across land, China and Iran are rewriting the rules of global commerce, sidestepping the bottlenecks and risks that have long defined international trade. In May 2025, a train from Xi'an arrived in Tehran in just 15 days, cutting shipping times in half and signaling a new era in Eurasian trade. What once took a month by sea now takes just over 2 weeks by rail, opening up new possibilities for businesses and governments alike. This corridor is the Belt and Road Initiative in action, a direct, resilient route for commerce between two nations, united in their resistance to Western pressure. It's a lifeline that weaves together economies, cultures, and ambitions, forging a partnership that extends far beyond trade. For decades, global trade relied on sea lanes policed by the US Navy. Routes like the Strait of Malacca and the Suez Canal, synonymous with risk. These maritime arteries have been the lifeblood of international commerce, but they are also vulnerable to disruption, piracy, and geopolitical tension. Now China and Iran are building a land-based alternative, less vulnerable to blockades or political turmoil. This overland corridor offers a new sense of security and reliability, allowing goods to flow even when seas are troubled or borders are tense. For Iran, it's an economic lifeline amid sanctions. The railway brings vital goods, investment, and opportunities, helping the country weather international isolation and build new connections with the East. For China, it's a strategic move to secure energy and trade. By ensuring a steady flow of resources and exports, China strengthens its position as a global economic powerhouse and reduces its dependence on unpredictable sea routes. This railway is the backbone of a new economic and political axis, deepening the 25-year partnership between Beijing and Tehran. It's a symbol of trust and shared ambition, laying the groundwork for future cooperation in technology, infrastructure, and security. The consequences are only beginning to unfold, but one thing is clear: the world's economic and political geography has been fundamentally altered. New alliances are forming and the traditional centers of power are being challenged by emerging networks that span continents. The Iron Silk Road is no longer a dream, it's a reality. What was once the stuff of legend and ambition is now steel, wheels, and commerce, echoing the ancient roots that once connected East and West. The global order is shifting, and this railway demands our attention. It's a signal that the world is entering a new phase, one where land, not just sea, will determine the flow of power and prosperity. The great game of the 21st century has a new player on the board, and its moves are only just beginning to shape the future. To grasp the railway's significance, we must look back. For centuries, the Silk Road connected China and Persia, carrying goods and ideas across continents. But the rise of European sea power shifted global trade to the oceans, making navies the new gatekeepers. Maritime routes replaced ancient trails, and control of chokepoints like the Suez Canal became paramount. Today, the China-Iran Railway is a deliberate return to overland trade, a modern Silk Road built of steel. By investing billions, China and Iran aim to reclaim Eurasia's central role in global commerce. In an era of naval tensions, the future of trade may once again lie across the vast landmass linking East and West. China's strategic anxiety centers on the Malacca Dilemma, a narrow strait through which 90% of its oil imports flow. This single maritime bottleneck is not just a trade route, it's a lifeline for China's economy and energy security. The vulnerability is stark. A disruption here could send shockwaves through global markets and threaten the stability of entire regions. In a crisis, the US Navy could blockade this choke point, threatening China's energy security. The mere possibility of such an action gives the US enormous leverage, making the Malacca Strait a focal point of strategic calculations for both nations. The global shipping system is riddled with such vulnerabilities. The Suez Canal, Bab el-Mandeb, and other narrow passages are all critical arteries for world trade, yet each is a potential flashpoint. The Strait of Hormuz, for example, is another vital link, responsible for a significant share of the world's oil exports. Any disruption here could trigger a global energy crisis. Recent disruptions in the Red Sea sent shipping costs soaring, exposing the fragility of sea-based trade. Even a temporary blockage can ripple across continents, affecting everything from fuel prices to the availability of everyday goods. For China, building alternative routes is a national security imperative. The search for overland corridors is about more than economics. It's about survival in a world where sea lanes can be weaponized. The China-Iran Railway is Beijing's boldest answer, a sanctions-proof, blockade-resistant corridor. This ambitious project links China directly to the Middle East, bypassing vulnerable maritime chokepoints. While it can't yet match the volume of sea freight, it offers a crucial alternative for high-value goods and strategic reserves. In times of crisis, these overland routes could mean the difference between resilience and vulnerability. It diversifies China's options, reducing reliance on US-patrolled waters. By investing in rail and road links, China is hedging against the risks of maritime disruption. In this geopolitical chess match, the railway is a queen, capable of changing the game. It's a move that forces rivals to rethink their strategies and adapt to a new balance of power. The stakes are high, and the board is being redrawn. Every new rail line, every alternative route, shifts the dynamics of global influence. The Iron Silk Road is China's move to secure its future, an audacious bet that overland routes can reshape the world's economic and strategic landscape. The launch of this corridor was years in the making. In May 2025, the first freight train from Xi'an reached Tehran in just 15 days, proving the route's viability. The project required harmonizing rail systems and customs across 5 countries, an engineering and diplomatic feat. High-level meetings in Tehran set the stage for a seamless transcontinental network. For Iran, it's a historic achievement. For China, a flagship Belt and Road success. Central Asian nations like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan now have direct access to global markets via Iranian ports. This corridor weaves together the interests of half a dozen nations, forming a new bloc looking eastward. The map of Eurasia is being redrawn by rail. The economic impact is immediate. The railway slashes shipping times for high-value goods, giving companies a competitive edge. Overland rail rates are rising as demand shifts from volatile maritime routes. For Iran, the corridor is an economic lifeline, bypassing US sanctions and enabling direct trade with China and Central Asia. Oil transport remains a challenge, but the railway enables barter and local currency deals, sidestepping the dollar system. The 25-year $400 billion China-Iran agreement is now more viable than ever. For the West, this is a strategic headache. The railway creates a massive loophole in the sanctions regime. Targeted nations, backed by China, can now build alternative networks to withstand economic pressure. Western policymakers must rethink their approach, as their primary tool is losing potency. The Iron Silk Road is changing the rules of economic warfare. The China-Iran Railway is a masterstroke in geopolitics, reshaping alliances across Eurasia. As a Belt and Road cornerstone, it pulls Central Asia and the Middle East deeper into China's orbit. For Iran, it cements a powerful partnership, undermining decades of Western isolation. The corridor rivals the US-backed India-Middle East-Europe corridor and complicates India's ambitions in Iran. It links into other major projects like the International North-South Transport Corridor, creating a web of overlapping routes. Russia, China, and Iran are forging a multipolar Eurasian network, challenging Western dominance. The railway strengthens a sanctions-resistant bloc, shifting the global power balance. Steel tracks from Xi'an to Tehran are laying the foundation for a new world order. Analysts agree, the railway is a game-changer, giving Iran an economic lifeline at a critical moment in its history. For a nation long isolated by sanctions and political pressure, this new overland route offers a vital connection to global markets and fresh opportunities for growth. It's more than just a trade corridor, it's a strategic alternative that could reshape regional dynamics and reduce dependence on vulnerable maritime routes. But the risks are real. The route passes through unstable regions, where political volatility and security threats are ever present. The railway could easily become a target in future conflicts, or fall victim to sabotage and unrest. Securing a 10,400-kilometer land route is far more complex than simply guarding a single border or checkpoint. In fact, it's a far greater challenge than policing a sea lane, which can be monitored by navies and satellites. Still, Beijing and Tehran are betting that the potential benefits, economic, political, and strategic, outweigh the dangers and uncertainties. The railway blunts the impact of Western sanctions, providing Iran with a crucial economic outlet and a way to bypass traditional chokepoints. It's a powerful demonstration that economic isolation is no longer a guaranteed strategy for pressuring nations. Western capitals must now reconsider their foreign policy toolkit as old methods lose their effectiveness in a rapidly changing world. The Iron Silk Road is both a symbol of ambition and a practical tool of a shifting world order. It strengthens Iran's integration into Eurasia, opening doors to new alliances and economic partnerships. For China, it's a way to expand influence and secure new leverage across the continent. Despite the risks, the project has already changed the strategic calculus for every major power watching from afar. Its long-term consequences will echo for decades, shaping the future of trade, diplomacy, and global power. The Xi'an-Tehran line is just the beginning. China and Iran envision a rail corridor stretching from the Pacific to Europe, a true transcontinental land bridge. Iran is building a new link to the Turkish border, eliminating bottlenecks and connecting directly to Turkey. Turkey, straddling Asia and Europe, is ramping up its logistics to become the gateway for the Iron Silk Road. The goal: a container loaded in Shanghai could reach Hamburg or Rotterdam without ever touching a ship. This would bypass maritime chokepoints and offer a faster, more secure alternative to the Suez Canal. The westward expansion of the Iron Silk Road is the next frontier in global logistics. It's a long-term project, but China and its partners are moving relentlessly forward. The steel rails linking China and Iran carry more than cargo. They carry the weight of a new era. This railway is the clearest sign yet of a shifting world order, challenging Western dominance and forging new corridors of influence. The challenges are immense: political instability, regional conflict, and the scale needed to rival maritime trade. Yet, the ambition is clear: a transcontinental land bridge that could redefine global trade. History is not over, and the geography of power is changing before our eyes. The Iron Silk Road is a story about the future of trade, power, and the world our children will inherit. We'll continue to follow this story. Subscribe and join the conversation below. What do you think is the most significant consequence of this new Iron Silk Road?